I freaking love this time of year. Great music, great times, great memories. Man, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you're having a great week, start of your week. By the time you're listening to this, it's probably Tuesday. We are stoked to go over the Halo Championship Series Raleigh Day 3 Championship Sunday. Man, it's crazy. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the tournament, you're under a rock. If you logged into Twitter, if you logged into Twitch, or if you logged into YouTube over the weekend, you saw this high up in the feed. I think on Twitch it got up into the 175-ish thousand live views on the main Halo channel there. That's not including the actual Halo Championship Series account. They had, 30, 40,000 people watching on that one too. There were other streamers, notable streamers that were streaming it through their channel, doing watch parties. So I think Halo was back on top. If you looked at the top views, it had 270,000 viewers on Twitch alone. So all eyes are on Halo Infinite in their multiplayer, their championship series. Man, the action was hot. It was high flying this weekend. If you were trying to consume all of this content, you didn't. I know you didn't because there was just too much. If you were trying to watch everything, you just couldn't do it live. There were 4 streams going on. So you had Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta streams. So all of these 4 streams had different matches going on because there were so many matches happening all at the same time. The brackets were huge. There were so many teams involved. You couldn't get this tournament done in 3 days unless you were running multiple matches at the same time. So we'll kind of address that here in a little bit. So glad you're here. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. My name is SurvivorIV. I go by Matt. My brother in arms, brother in pod, Corbin, the head honcho, the head host of the show. We will be talking about this in more in depth even tomorrow on our podcast. So if you're listening, do a couple of things. Drop a like, drop a review, wherever you're consuming this content. Follow us, subscribe, like, review. These are the things that help us grow. We're just trying to crank out content. We're trying to connect with our people. We want to know if you're listening. We want to be able to see that you're listening. And above all, we're grateful. We're grateful that you would spend some time with us. So thank you for choosing this content because you could go anywhere. You could go absolutely anywhere and pick content up. But we're glad you're choosing us. So thank you for that. So let's just dive right in. So one of the first things I want to talk about is in this weekend, the things I learned from watching competitive Halo. So I want to talk about things that I realized I was doing wrong and doing right. So first of all, dropping the Mangler instead of switching to kill faster with the BR. So, all right. So for instance, let's say you've got the Mangler, bop, bop, bop. You get a couple shots off on somebody. I saw the pros dropping the Mangler instead of switching to the BR, and dropping the weapon actually is faster to get that BR out than if you just switch. And so, yeah, you run the risk of you may not be able to pick that weapon back up, but you're trying to win a heads up anyway, more than likely. A lot of the battles in Halo are heads up. Time to kill is pretty slow compared to some other shooters out there right now. So whatever you can do to get to that next weapon, I've never done that before. So I saw a lot of people dropping a weapon to switch rather than actually just switching the weapon. So that was one for me. I noticed that. And I'm gonna definitely remap that button somewhere on my controller because I play controller, especially in ranked. I play the controllers. So I'm gonna find a way to map that because I think that's super cool. I also realized I am underutilizing weapons and equipment in the map. So I was using certain weapons completely wrong. I saw a bunch of opening routes on the maps that I hadn't thought of. List goes on and on there. I also noticed that I suck at this game. So that's pretty huge. No, I already knew that. Um, also, a couple other things I noticed. The commando. I saw some people using that. I realized that I use that like a complete jackass, like long range BR style and not shooting full auto. It's so much more effective at a closer distance. Full auto with headshot potential. So, anyway, those were some of the things I noticed that I was doing wrong. I think the final one, and I've seen people do this, but I think I learned by watching more, was on capture the flag, that cadence of kind of dropping the flag, running, picking it up, dropping the flag, and kind of kicking it out in front of you, picking it up, and then continuing from there to, it's a faster run to your base. It requires you to kind of be on top of your rhythm with your controller or on your keyboard, whatever you end up playing with. And there's potential there for fumbling it, kind of running too far past it, and then having to turn around, and then you've completely killed any momentum you had. But I noticed the pros doing that, kind of kicking out that flag in front of them, picking it up, and so on and so forth. So I've tried that this weekend since watching that. I think I've got more flag caps in the last couple of days than I would have otherwise. So those were some of the things that I noticed that I was doing wrong. Some of the things I noticed that I was doing well didn't really happen for me. These guys are so much better. So I'm going to think more on that list. I'm going to see if I can flesh that out a little bit more. But yeah, so those were some of the things I learned from watching competitive Halo. I'm looking forward to watching more, because I think the more I watch people who are better than me, the better I can learn. I'm not even going to hate on them, okay? These guys are ninjas. They're masters. Don't hate masters. Don't hate people who do things better than you. Learn from them, okay? That's the takeaway that I had there. All right, so let's talk about this. My next bit here, I want to talk about some interesting facts. Interesting facts from the weekend, okay? So some fun facts about the most two recent. I'm going to compare the Raleigh event that we had this year and 10 years ago. The last time that a Halo championship was played in Raleigh was 10 years ago. So that's 3,766 days between the two, okay? That was back in the day of Major League Gaming Raleigh and Halo Championship Series. So those two are now separate. You had Major League Gaming back in the day, not really a thing anymore. It's kind of defunct. A lot of these games are kind of taking their own thing, making their own series. They don't need to be hoisted on the back of a third party like Major League Gaming. So we are in Halo Championship Series Raleigh comparing to Major League Gaming Raleigh. So here's some fun facts. Okay, only one pro player has made it back-to-back with appearances at the grand finals, so the very final matches of both tournaments. Do you know who it was? If you guessed Ryan Noob, you'd guess right. He was infamous in 2011, and he was E United this year in 2021. So made an appearance on the grand final stage both times there. So great job, Ryan Noob. Still staying relevant in the sport 10 years later. You don't see that a lot. You don't see kind of that staying power in this sort of field. You see a lot of people who kind of dip in for a few years. They get old. They get over it. They want to move on to something new. Ryan Noob still grinding Halo 10 years later. Love to see it. Another fun fact, every player on the winning team of Infamous made an appearance at the Halo Championship Series Raleigh this year. So you had Lethal, who played for the Sentinels. You had APG, who played for Optic. Shout out. Ryan Noob for E United. Blaze for Status Quo, which we're going to talk more about Status Quo here in a minute. They're reviving that brand. Super cool. Man, talk about longevity. So every player, again, that stat there, every player on the winning team of Infamous made an appearance at this tournament. That's so cool. So all of those dudes back 10 years later. That's crazy. So speaking of longevity, the only brand, I told you we're going to talk about them. Here we are. The only brand to make it back-to-back with appearances from back then to now is Status Quo. Guy named Flamesword, bringing them back, reviving and resurrecting that brand. They were there 10 years ago. They were back this year. Otherwise, all these other teams, names, brands, whatever you want to call them, they're all kind of different because you've got open bracket, you've got pool play, so you've got some major teams, you've got some guys that just played well in some of these opens. But of all of the teams, of all the brands, the only one that made it back was Status Quo. Go give them a follow on Twitter. Yeah, they're just starting back up, but cool people over there. Let's see. Another fun fact, I got your Pistola and Lunchbox teamed together at both events, so that's cool. Some teammates running 10 years strong. And then you had another repeat appearance from our caster, Goofy, who played for Evil in 2011. He placed 7th in outplacing most notably fellow caster Walshy, as well as Snakebite. So cool that those guys, they're coming back in a different way. They definitely have great insights. If you watched the tournament, you would know, like, man, the casting was on fire this weekend. My favorite Golden Boy, I love that guy. He used to receive so much hate, but man, that guy has just put work into his craft, and it shows. But the casting was great. The people really know what they're talking about, and I love that. They're not just coming up with a bunch of color. They're actually breaking it down in ways that I can understand it. And I consider myself more of a casual. So pretty cool stuff there. So that's some fun, interesting facts from the weekend. Figured I'd share those with you. So what I want to do now is I want to bring up, first of all, I'm going to bring up a couple of pages here. So if you're listening on the pod, I'm going to try to use as many words as possible to kind of describe to you what I'm showing you here. But let me do this. Let me bring it in here. So, oh goodness. I'm going to have to, 2 seconds. Here we go. All right, here we are. So right here, this is the rules. This is like a, let's see, 50-page document of the rules of just this one tournament. So one, I don't know if any of these dudes read this, but I wanted to kind of start here to talk about, so what did we see this weekend? We saw tons of Halo play, but what's the structure? Because I was a little confused coming in too. This is not like your other leagues that you see out there. This is not like Call of Duty League. This is not like Overwatch League, where you have these big teams from big esports players in the industry that have paid millions of dollars to get there, people in the tournaments, and a permanent stay in the tournaments. So we've actually got a cool element to these tournaments. So you've got open invitations to people who just want to play in with their boys. So you, me, and Corbin and somebody else, the four of us right now could go start a team and start grinding our way into these tournaments. That's totally possible, and I love that. I love that there could be, at some point, some huge underdog story. We didn't see that this weekend. We saw some cool underdog moments, but the fact is that these big regional championships, these major events, and the world championships can be attained and can be won by just average Joes like you and me. So we're looking at the rules, and we're going to start here, and then we're going to look at the brackets, just so we can kind of figure this out a little bit better. So there was a 3-week period of online events. These online events were called an Open Series. And so the Open Series tournaments form the backbone of regular competitive play and take place throughout the duration of the program. Open Series tournaments are open entries seeded by Halo Championship Series 4v4 points and typically feature a single elimination bracket. So that's where we got 16 out of the 32 teams in the championship bracket. Again, there's so many brackets. You're about to lose. I'm going to say the word bracket about 100 times here in a second. You're going to lose track. But the Open Series was a feeder into this tournament. So that was some, not all, some of the teams that were there. Okay? So you've got that there. And then what? So you've got then a couple of different LAN events. So the LAN event is what we saw this weekend. This is not an online tournament. This is an in-person, computer connected to computer, hardware to hardware event. The LAN events feature the most prizing, most robust competitive features and the greatest prestige within the program, right? LAN events may award prizes in the form of money, HCS, point awards, qualification for future events, travel and accommodation coverage, which they did pay for most of these teams this weekend, etc. So this was a major event. This is not a regional championship. This is not the Halo World Championship. That'll be down the road after the 3 majors this year. That'll be the 4th major event. So this was a major event. It's a key peak of Halo Infinite competition featuring large-scale open bracket, a pro-centric pool play phase, and a championship bracket. So again, kind of mentioning those two brackets within the championship bracket that make up that championship bracket. You have the open bracket, which is fed out of all of the teams that didn't come from that pro pool play. However, some of the pro teams that didn't make it into the pro-centric pool can go down into the open bracket. So we saw some of that. We saw some of the kind of no-name average Joe teams facing off against some of the, I would say, low-tier AA, AAA ball players, so to speak. The people who are grinding into that pro arena, that limelight. So we have, for all intents and purposes, before we go on to the next thing, you had two brackets working their way into day 2 and day 3, which was the championship bracket. That's where you want to be. You want to be in the championship bracket. Your road to get there, though, can be a little convoluted. So anyway, that's the rules. I wanted to go over that first. So let me show you the major bracket, and then I'll show you these wild brackets. So here is our championship bracket, and we're going to talk about some big moments here. We're going to talk about some things that surprised us. We're going to talk about some things that we absolutely knew were going to happen, and just kind of how this is built. But this right here, if this is a bracket made up of 32 teams, right? But this isn't anywhere close to the amount of teams that were present this weekend. This is just the 32 teams that made it into the championship bracket, which now, we mentioned earlier, you couldn't consume all the content this weekend. There were so many teams present. Even if you just wanted to watch all of the championship series, you had to be tuned in to multiple different YouTube channels or Twitch channels, because they had Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. All those 4 channels had different games going on at all times, up until probably like the last moments of the tournament. So if you wanted to consume all the content, you couldn't. You'd still be watching right now, and it's almost Tuesday. So you have 2 brackets within this championship bracket. You have the winner's bracket up here, and then you have the loser's bracket up here, okay? The winner's bracket the format. Here's the format. You have the championship bracket made up of 32 teams. You have 16 teams from group stage, which those are those qualified pro teams, right? And then you have 16 teams from the open bracket. Do you want to see the open brackets? Here we go. Oh my gosh. So if you're watching online and maybe you just go check this out, we're about, 20 minutes into the YouTube channel. If you want to go check it out on YouTube, if you're listening at home. But if you're watching here, look at this. This is the culmination here. You have 4 brackets heading in to kind of like a semifinals, right? And then they take those 4 teams and they boost them up in the, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These 8 from the winner's bracket. And then you have all of these from the loser's bracket. But look how many teams these are. I can't even count. It doesn't even say on here. So they're each a best of 5 series. It's double elimination. And then the top 16 teams from this advance to the championship bracket. This is insane. This is so much. I'm just scrolling forever and ever and ever. I didn't count this because really, and how could we cover this? We couldn't. We couldn't cover this if we tried. This is about as good as the coverage gets. It's just you can look up halo-esports.fandom.com and look up the HCS Kickoff Major Raleigh 2021 Open Bracket. If you want to look at this stuff, check this out. So, man, absolutely insane. So this is a lot of teams. And they all came too. They all flew themselves out there for a chance at the big boy stage. Speaking of, let's look at the championship bracket. So this is going into day 2 and day 3. We wanted to talk more so about day 3. But there were a couple surprising stories here. There were a couple things I noticed that I would change for the next one. And maybe, I don't know how you would change it. I would just like it changed. I'm not going to be able to propose changes. Just the fact that I wish it were different. So you have over here, you have a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket, right? And again, this tournament is double elimination? Yeah, it's double elimination, best of 5 series, okay? So the winners bracket begins with, you have a winners round one comes from the winners round one. If you want to go into that first one, you have what's called the group stage, right? And these are some of the professional teams and then also some of the people who performed really well in opens. They're getting together, they're playing games while all those guys in the pool play, or pardon me, not pool play, I'm getting them open, the open bracket, are going at it. You had the guys from the group stage. So the 16 teams that came out of that were these guys duking it down here. So you had your bigger names: FaZe, Optic, E United, Cloud9, G2 Esports, Space Station Gaming, and then you had some guys you may not have heard of, XSET. So they got bumped into the NA qualifier number 1 because your boys over at Sentinels cheated, and they got dropped down into the open bracket for that. Now they grinded their way out, and let's take a look at this. So here's our losers bracket down here. After they got out of open play, they went down here. Sentinels made a huge run. Okay, Sentinels made a huge run all the way up, and they actually came up here too. They lost. They got into the winners bracket. They played the boys, and they 3-0'd them. They skunked them. Then they played Optic Gaming, and they got skunked by Optic Gaming. That was huge. So then they go into the losers bracket, and they make a run all the way back up into the winners bracket. And then they go up to the winners bracket, and then, let's see. Where did they, they make their way all the way through the losers bracket. Optic Gaming loses to Cloud9 in round 4 of the winners bracket. They go down to the losers bracket because, again, it's double elimination. They go down to the losers bracket. They play the Sentinels again, and then they lose 3-2. Now, here's some observations about Optic Gaming. Anytime Optic Gaming actually lost, like an actual match up against another team, it always went to game 5. Okay, so they're never down and out. Optic Gaming is grinding it all the way to the end. They didn't get skunked anywhere. And if they beat you, they beat you big. So you're going to have to play hard and long against Optic Gaming if you want to get there. So Sentinels, Optic Gaming, they went head-to-head quite a bit. What I noticed is that it looked like some of these groups. So you have Group A is Optic Gaming, Kansas City Pioneers, Chief Esports Club, and Bing Chilling. Group B was G2 Esports, FaZe Clan, Natus Vincer, and Divine Mind. Group C was E United, Quadrant, Oxygen Esports, and the Boys. Group D was Cloud9, Space Station Gaming, XSET, and Ascend. Okay. So when we look at this, we also want to look at how many maps did they win. Okay. And of course, you have Cloud9 who won the whole event. Spoiler, Cloud9 won the whole event. They won 78% of their matches, or of their maps, I should say. They won 25 and they lost 7. That's pretty dang good. You know what's interesting though? Chiefs Esports Club, okay, until they got up in the top and they started playing some of the big dogs, they won 73%. Right? They just lost the wrong games. So Chiefs Esports Club, let's see, where were they? We're going to go find them in this. Yeah, here we go. So they did well, right? They know how to win. So, but it's not just looking at, okay, maps. We want to look at series. How many series did you win? Okay. And Optic Gaming won 5 out of their 7 series. Okay, they won 71%. The others were E United and Cloud9 that did just as well, and then G2 Esports matched with a 5-2. So your top 4 teams at this tournament were as follows. So you had Cloud9 in first place, E United in second place, and then tied for third was G2 and Optic. I think those are your teams, your big ones that you watch moving forward. What I found interesting was, so in the, let's see, this would be the finals, Cloud9 and EU go head-to-head. Cloud9 takes it 3-1. Then EU drops down and plays the winner of the losers bracket. So this is where, again, that double elimination, the losers bracket can kind of fight their way into the championship. E United beats FaZe Clan 3-2. Super close. Then we have a really anticlimactic ending, best of 7, where Cloud9 just runs it on E United 4-1. So it wasn't like the storied nail biter, buzzer beater, clinch it, run it to game 7 moment that you want for your grand finals, especially after a 12-hour day your casters are beat, your players are beat. I feel like your last day needs to be like half of that. I think it needs to be 6 hours tops. And that's what I would change. I don't have any offers for how to change that. I don't know what you do to get better, but that's just too long. That's just way too long. 12 hours is too much. And your player base is beat. Your workers are beat. And frankly, I was a little beat. As somebody who really cares a lot about this and likes watching it, I don't have 12 hours on a Sunday to watch all this stuff. Unless you have no friends, no wife or kids, and absolutely nothing on your plate on a Sunday, you don't have this. You don't have this amount of time to commit. And so they need to find a way to consolidate that. And I don't have any offers for how to make that better. That's just my opinion. I just think it needs to be a little bit shorter. So, or you just miss out. Is the option on the other side. You just miss out on some of this stuff, which I would like to have maybe a little bit more consolidated. Maybe don't make it 32 teams, make it 16 teams. So then your Friday, Saturday aren't as packed. Yeah, that gives fewer people the opportunity to grind their way in. But there you go. So let's talk about the prize pool. So here's how it broke down. You had a $250,000 prize pool of US dollars spread amongst the teams as follows. So for places 7 through 8, if you place 7th or 8th, you got 2.24% of the prize pool. And then you also get Halo Championship Series points, which plays into getting yourself to the World Championship. So you build up points based on how you do in these majors, how you do in regional qualifiers and all that stuff. So there's all these events that you can do. You get HCS points, and then that puts you ranked, and then it also gets you to the championship later in the year. So you get a payout, monetary, and you get some HCS points. So for 7th and 8th place, you get 7,000 HCS points. You had Natus Vincier and Space Station Gaming for 7th and 8th, and they both took home prizes of $5,600 for the team. So chop that up amongst 4 players and your organization. That covers your costs. You're really not getting out of there for any big winnings. Nothing to write home about. But that's 7th through 8th. And think about how many teams competed. So a lot of these dudes went home with nothing, with absolutely nothing. 5th and 6th place, KC Pioneers and Optic Gaming. Their organizations took home $9,800 cash, which is 3.92% of the prize pool. And they got 8,000 HCS points for the year, or for the event. So they've got that so far going into the end of the year. Then for 4th place, you have the Sentinels. They take home $19,600 bag, 7.84% of the prize pool, and they get 9,000 Halo Championship Series points. In 3rd place, FaZe Clan, $39,200 bag. That's pretty darn good. I think they can pay their players for that weekend. Then they got 11,000 HCS points. In 2nd place, you have E United taking home the silver, and they got $84,000, which is 33% of that prize pool, 15,000 HCS points. And then in 1st place, Cloud9 Gaming, they got the gold, and they are taking home some gold, $140,000. Wow, that's 56% of the prize pool, and they get HCS points in the amount of $25,000. Insane. It's a lot of money. And this is just the first one. I think this is going to grow. They're going to be playing for millions at the end of the year. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right. So let's do a couple things here. We would love to know what you thought. So drop a tweet, drop a review, connect with us on our socials. Let us know what you're thinking about this. Let us know what you're thinking about Halo in general in the competitive scene. I think, let me review here. Yeah, Cloud9's your winner. Player of the tournament, Renegade, Cloud9 player. Got the most kills as well. Go check him out on Twitter. He'll tell you more about his performance there. You can look him up. But that's about all we've got for the rundown on Day 3, Championship Sunday of the Halo Championship Series, first major of the year in Raleigh, North Carolina. Guys, it's been fun. We've got a lot more to cover throughout the rest of the year on Halo Esports. For all things esports and casual gaming, check us out again. Go check us out on Always Be Gaming on our Twitter, which is alwaysbegaming_. You can check out Corbin at CorbinLive_. You can check me out at SurvivorIV on all socials. And be sure to tune in to the Always Be Gaming podcast out every Wednesday for your esports and casual gaming chat. So, guys, thank you for being here. It's a wonderful time of the year. Some call it the most wonderful time of the year. So glad that you chose to consume your content with us, to catch up with us. And, guys, Merry Christmas. We'll see you soon. I'm going to play you out with a little DMCA-free Christmas music here. Merry Christmas.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happiest season of all, with those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago.